Awesome. So, the Power of Systems Book Club, call eight. Everyone welcome. Lyndon is just landing in the call. And other than Philip, I believe that's a full house. So, what I have planned for today, I'd love to do our usual check-in and discussion around chapters 22, 23, 24. I've definitely got some things I want to share on those. They're very relevant, very topical for me at the moment. And I'd, of course, love to hear what everyone took from those. So we'll do our usual check-in. We were going to do an exercise last week, which we pushed back because we naturally fell into an awesome chat that just continued, and I felt it was best to keep that going. But we will there'll be a point in today's call where we'll move over to this exercise and we'll do that, and that's going to sort of set us up for the next 7 weeks of the book club through to the end of the year. So this will be sort of the main foundation for that. But yeah, before we do that, I would love to hear from all of you. I'd love to hear a check-in, actions that are being taken, any insights or inspiration or ideas that you took from the chapter, anything you're currently playing with, things that are working, things that are not working. I would love to hear from you. I'm also happy to kick us off. So the thing I've found, and I've read the book before, and I remember it really landing for me last time. Um, and it's been a really great and very relevant reminder again, is just the prompt to have a think about how I'm starting my day, the morning routine. And I suppose it's something, if I was to look at what I do as a job as a system, I suppose that baked into it, or one of what I view as a compromise in working as a musician is there's no steady routine in terms of when I go to sleep and when I wake up. And whatever routine gets created, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a rhythm that I fall into is consistently disrupted by the weekend where I might get home at 3 or 4 and then I've got to push the sleeping back, etc., etc. But what I found is often the alarm will go off, and I won't sort of be up straight away, and I'll just sort of lie there, and I'll get into thinking, and I find that the day kind of begins. It can begin quite sluggish when I start like that, and then going to the phone or the laptop really quickly, kind of imagining this kind of pressure of like, right, I'm up. Maybe I'm up a little bit later. I've got to get on with it. Right, okay, make coffee, laptop up, emails. I'll get a message. Oh, for God's sake, and something that I might read and receive like completely fine, were I to perhaps give myself just a little bit longer to wake up and ground myself, all of a sudden I'm receiving through a very tired lens, and I'm perhaps a lot more reactive. And the impression I got from both Steve and Trevor is, yes, it's a slow start to the day, but particularly with Steve bringing in this kind of inspiration idea, and capturing like this kind of, or having a system for capturing or getting into the energy, like grounding yourself in a certain energy. That was really useful to have that reminder again today, particularly where over the weekend waking up, oh, right, I've got to get on with this thing, and kind of allowing myself to fall into the illusion that there's any pressure that I need to get on with it as quickly as possible and get productive. So I found that huge, and I think it's something I'm definitely going to play with this week. Is like, how am I choosing to start my day? How am I creating the first hour to 2 hours of the day, and what's the knock-on effect from that start? So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Chris.
Yeah, I don't know about anyone else, but I find that those first couple of hours of the morning and the last hour or two of the evening before I go to sleep are times of heightened emotional sensitivity, and I need to be really careful what I'm what inputs I'm taking in during those times. I find that if there's anything I need to engage with that's more challenging, it's always helpful for me to do it in the middle of the day. I can process, yeah. Um, uh, well, anyway, that's it's not possible all the time. Actually, obviously, we have things that come in that are unexpected. But for me to choose to open myself to receive things that might be uh, uh, that might interfere with my more productive and inspirational start to my day, or a gentle relaxation in the evening, I most of the time manage to keep to that. Uh, I don't know what I'm curious about others' experiences as well. Thanks, Will.
Mm, mm. I'm really curious, Chris. I heard you say, you've noticed that the morning and evening, these periods of time of sort of a heightened emotional sensitivity, I think you said. Um, I've certainly noticed that in the evening, like tired mind, it's going through a certain filter, everything around me by that point. Um, I'm curious, when did you realize this, and what was it like before you realized this?
Um, I've been aware of this for a long time, and I go through waves where I will maybe be less a little less careful at either end of the day, and I pay for it. If if I take if I take the risk of opening Instagram before I go to bed, I'm also conscious that I control the algorithm, uh, and sometimes make deliberate choices as to what to engage. I'm aware that I'm being watched as I go through it, and I'm going to get more stuff. But since a lot of things that a lot of information I don't want to take in can just get fed there too. It's like I have to be pretty brave to want to take that on at night, unless I'm going to check a DM or something like that. In the morning too, it's the same thing. It's like if I start off uh, by just immediately reaching for the phone when I come down and not taking that 10, even just a bare minimum of 10, 15 minutes to sit down and be quiet, get my head together. Um, I've paid for it too many times, and I don't always get it right. And sometimes things come in that I don't expect, as I say. But um, I've realized that if I need to, yeah, that it's very important for me to protect the open and the close of my day,
Mm.
and treat use that time to nurture my state of mind and being, right, so it doesn't fuck with my day or interfere with my sleep.
Mm. Mm. Man, thank that. There's a lot I can take away from that. Um, on the subject of sort of scrolling and I now view Instagram as my comparison system. So right, this is the perfect system if I want to go and do some comparing and look at like, oh, they're doing this thing, or they've just got that tour, or they've done that. Oh, that is the comparison system. And I remind myself every time I, out of habit, find myself bored or early in the morning or in the evening after I've done the things I needed to do, I'm like, oh, you just pick up the phone out of habit. It's now nice to have that system in place where it's just that voice that goes, Are you wanting some comparison right now? Are you wanting to compare yourself and like fuck your whole evening up?" I was like, "Go for it." I'm like, "No, I'm okay. I'm okay." And it happens as well with say I've noticed this if I'm in a funk or like a bad mood or something, like what you were saying about feeding the algorithm is really interesting because it can create this hook that keeps you hooked in. You get in a bad mood, you go and have a scroll, the outrage tactics start to work, so you click through and you're like, oh, I'm really this is outraging me. This has really pissed me off. Is that? And then of course the algorithm's going, oh, you like this? Okay, more. And then before you know it, you've curated a feed that is just the most disastrous possible things. Um, so, man, thank you for pointing at all of that. And again, we can look at it through the lens of a system. It's like,
Mhm.
it's something that, is this a system you want to plug into right now? Is that going to be useful?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Instagram was not that way when I first started. When I shut down my Facebook account, thought I can handle Instagram visuals, but it's changed everything, especially around the world, I'm sure, but here in the States right now, in this very hot moment we're all living through here, that stuff, it's everywhere. And it's so it's become, for me, it's sports, animal videos, or inspirational music or thinkers. I will linger there deliberately and choose to do so. And if the other stuff comes up as it'll, because they're always going to, because negativity drives engagement, And when I see that stuff come up, I just have to have maintain my presence of mind. Like, no, I'm not taking the bait. This is junk. I don't need this, and be conscious about it. And I get hooked in. Obviously, I get hooked in sometimes, but it's better than it used to be.
Mm, mm. Thank you. Is there any more you wanna share right now? Thank you. Sash.
A very similar experience actually to Chris. I've definitely more and more noticed that how I interact with social media affects my thinking and then my relationship with systems. Um, so definitely where they said like the consistency and inconsistent, like that is definitely something that I notice in myself. Um, I go through phases where I'll get up quite early in the morning, I'll like shower straight away, I will get out and go for a walk and like listening to a podcast and then come back, maybe answer to some like messages and like to clients and start my day right. And then maybe like the week after, I will get up like late, climb myself out of beds, just about get in the shower and then open up the laptop and start working. And it definitely kind of falls in line with either how much like late nights that I've had, alcohol, doom scrolling, like all these things that sometimes can be fun, but knowing how that then affects the rest of it, I think is important. And I really liked the way that he said, like curating inspiration. I think is a really interesting thing. And I've read this book again. This is the second time, and I didn't pick up on that before. So it's really cool to kind of pick that up this time. Um, I definitely have like go-to podcasts that I try and listen to if I do go for a walk that make me feel good. They're normally around music and film, things that kind of get the inspiration going. Um, but I like the way like having not just that, having like your favorite books or like even like saved posts from Instagram instead of running through like a new feed, having like a folder of collections of things that you actually like and that aren't going to sway you down that kind of rabbit hole because it does happen so quickly. um I think it's getting worse and worse for that, as Chris said. Like I've noticed, I try and do like a detox on social media, maybe like once a month, and I go through the people that I follow, and I actually go through like the list of people that I know that I want to see their content. I'll go onto their page and like a few of their posts and spend a bit of time on their account, so I can the algorithm will kind of trick it into thinking that I'm showing engagement with those people. And again, I'll go through and go, oh well, I followed them in a moment where actually that's not really useful. I don't need to see that information. It's too much and overwhelming, and kind of unfollow people. Um, but it does happen so quickly. Sometimes in like within half an hour, as Chris said, like you've gone from inspirational creative stuff, like seeing artists work right through to like the deepest political like movements, and it happens so quickly. So yeah, it really kind of spoke with me, and I think a big thing in these kind of chapters was the kind of thinking and then how it's connected to systems and then taking action. And I don't think I realized how much thinking does relate to the systems that I have. Like, I definitely have systems in place, but there is still that piece of thinking first that can either be that make or break of actually taking action on that system. So it's kind of working some of the time when it needs to, or when I'm in a good mood. But specifically in mornings, I'm really tired. I rely on my thinking when I'm half asleep more than the rest of the day. Um, so I think, again, like, instead of like fixing, like fitting yourself into the box, it made me think of, okay, what kind of person am I? What kind of sleeper am I? I'm naturally not great in the mornings anyway. So I thought today, like, oh, maybe I could actually talk to work and maybe see if I can start an hour later. Like, that would give me time in the mornings to actually have that routine, instead of forcing myself one week to get up at 6:30 every day and then being too tired the week after to do that. Why don't I just shift my hours if that's possible and make it work for me instead of the other way around? Um, so yeah, that was a little realization that I had kind of reading these chapters.
Mm. Yeah, huge. We had that crop up last week, I think, and maybe on previous calls as well. Um, like the systems feeling like you, or another way of putting it, like systems aligning with you, um,
Mm.
not squeezing yourself to fit into something else, but seeing how much of your life can you design around what you believe to look true about yourself, and what works best for you.
Yeah.
I'm curious as well, Sash. Like it sounds like you're seeing something around thinking and systems, um, and whether or not something gets done. Um, would you be happy to tell us a bit more about that? Maybe a practical example.
Yeah, I think an example of it I actually had on Sunday. So um Will and I, in my like one-to-ones, he knows that I've had a big like kind of task on my hands of what I've been wanting to do over winter, was PR, sort out my PR, put plans together for PR, understand kind of what I can do to get out there and building my network. And I put in every Sunday to kind of sit down and work on the business. Um, and this Sunday, I mean, I had been to London 2 nights in a row, got back at 2 o'clock in the morning, both of those like nights. And I was just like staring at the laptop. I like started to do it. I was like, I don't even know. Like, I know that I'm supposed to be doing something around PR, but I don't know what I'm actually doing. And about less than 10 minutes in, I was like, nah. And I went into the studio instead and worked on a single. So it was still fun. Like, I still did stuff, but it wasn't the thing that I've kind of been setting out to do. And there's half of me that goes, oh, well, that's okay, because it just wasn't fitting in that time. And I actually did something else that was really productive and fun. And I was able to kind of follow my gut that actually this thing is nicer and I want to do this. But at the same time, I still need the other thing to happen. So it's kind of like weighing up that, when do you listen to your kind of, I guess for me it's separating thinking to like gut feeling of creativity, like knowing when the right time to actually go, oh, the system doesn't work for me today, this feels better, and run with that, versus, no, this is the system, do the thing.
Mm. So tuning into recognizing what is gut instinct, what is wisdom in the moment,
Yeah.
what
Like,
makes sense.
Yeah, like versus like, yeah, the thinking getting in the way because you fear has blocked doing the action versus trusting yourself that actually it's not the right time, and instead of fighting against something, letting yourself do the other thing and being okay with that. I think that's where I'm kind of split down the middle.
Hmm. Hmm. Cool. Okay, so I'll throw something up a possibility as a system, I suppose. Um, that's a little experiment that could be run. So something could be tracked there. For example, okay, you had an experience this Sunday just gone. Um, cool. So you could just track it as like, right, there was a thing that I'd planned to do. I didn't do that thing. In the moment, it made sense to do this other thing. Awesome. Cool. Um, you could, in that moment, reschedule when to get the other thing done and book that in and block it in, and then just track it. It could be that if the same thing happens again, it could be coincidence, sure. Like it could very well be that in the moment it made sense to whatever. Maybe by the third time or the fourth time, then it's an experiment that's giving you some data. It's giving you some feedback. It's like, okay, now there's a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
um, I have this saying with when it comes to working with musicians, if there's a pattern, there's a problem. So
Mm.
it's okay. It's okay if you forget that you had a gig in the diary or you missed it in the group chat and it didn't go in. That's fine once. Um, if that's a pattern, it's like, okay, now there's a problem. There's some kind of thing and we need a better booking system in place.
Mm. I think it is a pattern because this is the second time that has happened, but I changed the system. So before that, it was working, and every Sunday I only logged myself for an hour. And I think for me, I need to do little and often. It's when I block in like 8 hours, like put like do 8 hours of working on your business and do the website or whatever it is to do to get you to the next level. Like that feels really overwhelming. And then I'm like, well, what do I spend my 8 hours doing? Um, so I think, yeah, for me, I want to maybe just set like 20 minutes a day is better for me.
Hmm.
Because then I know that I just, instead of looking at a whole list of things that I could do and trying to figure out which one to do first, I just pick one and go, oh, let's just do that because it takes 20 minutes.
Hmm. Okay, cool, cool. I love that. So it sounds like there's something that you can take as an experiment there and play around with. And again, we see the theme of like how accessible is the system? How easy to get into it is it? Or straight off the bat, is this like we're creating obstacles in the way?
Mm.
Hmm. Awesome. Is there any more you want to share right now?
No, that's everything from me.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Tracy.
Yeah, this was quite enlightening this week because it really I was quite pleased with myself because actually my non-negotiables, my morning routine, I'm lucky in that most of my days are the same. But for me, when I wake up in the morning, my cup of tea is non-negotiable first thing in the morning before I even get dressed. My cup of tea is the most important thing. And then just going out with the dog. I might look at what I've got on that day, but while I'm out with the dog, I don't listen to a podcast. I just have peace and quiet in the field with the dog because I can process then where my mood is, what my body's feeling like, how much am I actually going to get done today with how tired I am, have I slept well. But going through the menopause, as we all know, you can have a good night and you can have a bad night. So I tend to assess when I'm on the walk with the dog and I'm in this greenery. And a lot of that came up in this chapter. And it was really useful to me to think about how I can reset my system before I even tackle any work on my desk when I get back with the dog. And I find going out in the morning just gets everything pumping. My mind's then working. My body's ready to sort of really focus on what's going on. The only reason I know this is really good is because when I go on holiday, I don't walk the dog and I've got somebody else with me. And my mindset is relaxed, but it's not got that same fire behind it. It's not got that focus behind it because I've not been out in that greenery with the dog. I've maybe had a later night, I'm on holiday, I might have had some alcohol. So I really noticed once I came home off holiday how much of a difference it was when I had my own routine in the morning with my non-negotiables. And I've also found this in the evenings as well, because I used to watch the 10 o'clock news at night. I can't now do that because I seem to be more sensitive to it. And then that then plays on my mind. Even if I read a book, I don't seem to be able to settle. So one of the systems I put in place was don't watch the news after 6 o'clock at night. And then I found invariably just reading a book before I went to sleep, I went off no problem and tended to sleep right through. But it was that noticing that actually it was the news that was upsetting me. And actually the 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock news is what's been on all day. So as long as I hear the lunchtime 6 o'clock, I'm not actually missing out on anything late at night. And actually it can wait to the morning. I'm not going to be a pariah because I haven't listened to the news at 10 o'clock at night. And it sort of came for me with a bit of boundaries on there as well, of protecting my self-care and putting those systems in place so that I wasn't tired in the morning. I did sleep well. And I know if I didn't go out with the dog, he wouldn't talk to me anyway. So yeah, that's something I have in place that really helps me focus then. And I seem to be much more productive when I've been out with the dog. And it's that green space thing, because a lot of the work I do is about resetting that parasympathetic system. And research has proved that the greenery around us naturally resets that. We don't have to do anything. We just have to be in it. So it's really, really important to have those greens, but even if it's just your green plants at home, they're just so important for resetting our system so that we're in a relaxed and we can hear our minds and our bodies and what they want us to do. So yeah, I got quite a bit from it. Thank you.
No, awesome. I love that. And I love that, was it chapter 22 pointed to the nervous system again as a system. And then what I kind of took from it for myself was like a holistic checklist, just to check in with before going any more specific. And what I wrote down: sleep, water, food, exercise, fresh air. Have I played the guitar? Have I written some music? What type of work have I been doing recently? Am I hungover? Came up. And it's kind of what I've taken what I've taken from that is, right, if there's thinking that's going on, as there has been today, for example, long week away with work, straight into Halloween weekend, out with friends, drinking, and then today, oh, okay, there's stuff going on in the head. It's like, okay, we'll check in. How's your sleep been? Not fab. Probably dehydrated. Junk food. Haven't exercised because I was away all week, so I haven't exercised in like 10 days. What type of work have I been doing? Cheesy Halloween songs. It's okay, not the most artistically like nourishing. And then by the time I'd got through all this, I was like, it's all right, man. Like, you don't have to get caught up in the thinking. There's like your nervous system's in a place, and it just needs to come back down. So I love again that they seem to really be pointing to like, right, check in with yourself. There's a perfect system in a healthy human that is functioning as it should. And I suppose what I heard in this is an encouragement to tune into that and work with it, not against it. Yeah, I love that. Out of curiosity, what are your morning non-negotiables?
Definitely my cup of tea and definitely my walk with my dog. Those two are ones I will not shift. Right, apart from obviously if I'm on holiday, it's a bit different, but generally those are the two. The kids even know, do not speak to mum till she's been out with the dog. It's just not worth your while because you won't get a straight answer.
Amazing.
Can I just say one of the other things that actually I picked up on in this as well was he talked about the fight flight syndrome at one point as well. And I know if we're in that default setting, the brain is racing, the thoughts are taking over, it's all going at manic speed. We're just stuck in that vicious cycle. And I think sometimes we need to step back from that. And what this book has really done for me has knocked that on the head and just really trusted the system. So trust my cup of tea, trust my going out in the morning. And I always say to my clients as well, when your emotions are high and when your thinking's really racing, your clarity is really low. So nothing that you're going to come up with is actually going to work or is going to make any sense. So we need to find a way of calming that system down so you can then think clearly. But dealing with people like I do, there's a lot of emotional issues there, and they just cannot see the wood for the trees until those emotional issues are under some sort of system that they can manage them. So then the clarity comes through and they can actually see the situation like a system for what it is, rather than all the other add-ons that cause all the extra thinking. So this chapter's really sort of spoken to me this week in a lot of ways.
Thank you for tagging that on there, because it's something that they brought up in one of these chapters as well, was our tendency to turn to thinking as the provider of all answers, which is something that really, really resonates to me. It's like, I can think through this, or I can cognitively, process my way through something. And particularly like deploying that in a time of an already frantic mind, in that fight or flight, or there's like a deadline, there's urgency, or any situation where we find ourselves in that day to day, and go, okay, like I can think through this. And I call it the thought pancake. It's like, okay, well, now there's thinking on top of thinking on top of thinking on top of thinking, and it just stacks up. And it's like you're adding more fire to fire. There's already too much thinking. So again, it's that. I think I mentioned this maybe last week. Like, it's never an additional process; it's a subtractive process. It's like less thinking. That the clarity is the absence of thinking. It's not a particular type of thinking. It's the absence. It's space. So yeah, definitely something I've been guilty of, and still catch myself being guilty of. Is there any more you want to add right now, Tracy?
No, I think I've said everything I want to say. So thank you for that, Will.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Karen.
Well, practically everything that I was going to say, you've just said. So that's thank you for that.
You can say it in your own way, though.
Shall I? Right. Well, I've had the last week, Sophie is on half term. I decided to take an entire week off, like of work. And I thought, oh, I'd probably get loads of my grungy stuff that I need to do done. And I didn't do very much. And what I did was allow myself to be, I was thinking about the waves. I like the sea, as you know. So I allowed the sea to move me. So I particularly liked the bit about us being just the one wave in the ocean. So I allowed things to happen. And there's certain things when you focus on, I've got this to do, and a deadline and everything. But there's other things as well that needed to be done that I didn't really want to do. Things like move all the data from one laptop to my new laptop, like the hacking at your wrist stuff. And I worked out, well, I didn't. I just did stuff because it's not in my nature to sit there and do like literally nothing. So I just was with Sophie, and we might be watching some stupid thing, but I open the laptop, and while I'm doing that, I'm just moving some data over, and oh my gosh, all of a sudden it's done. And so I'm interesting. It's a bit like Sasha was saying. I'm going to be interested in whether a system of allowing myself to be guided is an actual system, or whether that's worth listening to, or whether it's just a bullshit excuse for not doing the shit stuff. I don't know. But I like the idea of checking and trying it. But also the thing that I've really noticed, and I've been around the 3Ps now for a long time, and you could say that I should know better, but it's hit me again about the bloody the thoughts, and particularly the last, the last chapter of last week's, which we didn't even talk about because we were so caught up But we didn't even talk about the don't think about it, just do it and throw yourself out the plane and just do it because thinking is irrelevant. And I loved the reminder that these aren't even our thoughts, they're just things. And it's something that I say to my clients all the time. Like it's just like the Brucey bonus facial steamer. You don't have to take it home if you don't want it. So, and I never have trouble getting to sleep because I've got a really fast brain and I just sort of tune in and think, oh, what am I watching now? And I just watch my thoughts going along like entertainment. I don't get caught up in them. And yet there are still times where I believe that my thinking comes from me and it actually might be saying something that's true. And it's only always to do with the areas in myself that I think I could be better at, the insecure areas.
Mm.
And I think my challenge is I'm so good at noticing them in other areas. I'm getting better and better, but to recognize it when it's in those like needly bits where feeling a bit vulnerable or not as good as I could be, and to notice at that point also it's still just a thought, doesn't even come from me, don't have to take any notice of it. In fact, spending any time of it on it is a waste of time because I'm not actually doing stuff. So I don't know, other than just being aware that to look for it, and hopefully just get better and better. I don't expect anybody is ever going to nail that one 100%, but yeah, I noticed the feeling. The feeling is a bit of a clue to me.
Mm.
But yeah, that really.
Mm. Right, you've hit on a whole bunch of things and tied in, last week's chapter, and again we're brought back to thinking. I'm just gonna draw something out and underline it, because you mentioned the three Ps there. There are going to be some people in here that are right there with you and they know the three Ps, etc. And there'll be some people that it might be new to them. So I'm just going to underline that quickly. The three Ps, basically the three principles. Um, I'm never sure exactly what to call it. A theory, an understanding, probably. You might have heard me refer to it as the inside out understanding. Some people call it that. But it's an understanding that a guy called Sydney Banks came to realize about, I suppose, the nature of our thinking, the nature of our thoughts, as opposed to the content of our thoughts. I'm not going to attempt to capture in words what the whole thing is. I don't think it's something, as much as I've tried, it doesn't seem to be something that's taught particularly well. But if there's anyone in here that's interested, is curious, wants to find out more, please drop me a message. I have chapters, book recommendations, audios, etc., that I'd be more than happy to share. I've certainly found it. I think 4 years ago or so, it was pretty groundbreaking for me. Very much along the lines of the power of now and that kind of like it's not. It isn't about Sydney Banks or what this guy realized. Like I think that this is knowledge that seems to be inherent for humans, and many different ideologies or philosophies or religions have pointed in that direction for a very, very, very long time. So if anyone's curious and that's all sounds new to them, please do drop me a message and I'll be happy to share. Particularly for musicians in the room, I think uh, I don't know how many there are out there, books that apply the three principles from the standpoint of a musician. Nick Bottini's book, Just Play, really does hit the nail on the head in terms of applying the three principles understanding to music. So that could be a great place to start. Yeah, and then what you were saying there, Karen, around thinking. I think it's somewhere between 60 and 90,000 thoughts we have a day, and supposedly as much as 90% of the thinking is repetitive. So I think it's always the really sticky ones. It's always the ones that have some kind of identity attached that stick and that we have the most visceral experience of. Um, yeah, I don't think we're our thoughts. We're the thinker, or there's thought being generated somewhere, and at some point we decide that certain ones really do mean something. And I've started calling them ego thoughts, because there's a very distinct feeling to them. What I've noticed as well, at any time that we are going through big internal shifts, or we're creating big external change in our lives, the ego and that thinking seems to get louder. It seems to really, really argue for its requirement or its usefulness or its need to exist. Um, and again, there's a very particular feeling that comes with that. So I'm right there with you, Karen, working this stuff out. I don't I don't know if we ever reach a point where we're never again blindsided by the thinking. I think that we get far quicker at recognizing when it's happening, where it's coming
Mm.
from, and we get better at taking action in spite of it. I think that is the most crucial thing. The saying, like pride will, I don't know if these are the actual words, but like pride will kill you. It's exactly the same thing. It's like your ego will keep you stuck. It will keep you in a certain place. It will keep you thinking about yourself in a certain way, doing things in a certain way. And people have all kinds of stories around this. It shows up in, how much money you earn, what car you drive, what job you have. Status is a massive one. Like all of these areas, you see people's ego constantly getting in their own way. And so I think that possibly, and I'm just riffing. This is just what looks true to me today. This could absolutely change, but like I wonder if the the peak that we can hit with it is not that we never have that thinking again, or that we cut the ego out. That is impossible. That will never happen. It's that we have the ability to have that thinking, have that ego shouting and arguing for why we shouldn't do a certain thing, and we fucking do it anyway. We rip the floorboards up, we make the change, we move, we quit the job, we sell the house, we do whatever is required to continue to design a life that is more and more aligned with truth and not aligned with ego.
Yeah, I agree. And I always think that because the ego only knows what's happened in the past and it can't tell the future, it tries to predict the future, doesn't it? And it's like it's the same as driving forwards, looking in the rearview mirror, absolutely hopeless. So we just can't take it seriously, can we? We can't. It's just really stupid to take it on as anything other than, am I in danger right now because there's a lion? You know, that's where it belongs. Anything other than that, it's above its pay grade and needs to shut up, you know, stop it now. But yeah, I love the idea of just doing it anyway, like, yeah, whatever.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder if that's where it's at. It's like it's not that it goes away. It's not that we
I
are
don't think it can
able.
go away because then we'd be dead because the ego keeps us alive in the physical world, doesn't it? So we would be dead. So we're stuck with it. It's just a question of, yeah, what we do about it, isn't it? Yeah.
And noticing as well where there's misalignment, because I think the ego again convinces you that you need certain things, or that things should look a certain way, or that people from your background don't achieve certain things, whatever the story is. And that's there are infinite permutations that every individual has, that um you know, how we think about ourselves, and then we go on to create a life that aligns with that, as opposed to something that's more true.
Yeah, I like that. Just writing that down. Thanks.
It's the perfect system for creating a midlife crisis, basically. Is it's like that, continuing to listen to that. And yeah, so I suppose again, this the whole three Ps and thinking and the nature of thought is like, I think if you can reach a point where you're able to distinguish where the misalignments are between what your ego thinks you need and what you actually want, like the truth, and you can see it and be like, well, this thing wants that, but I know that this is more true. That's huge.
Mm,
And keep creating it even though the ego's shouting at you.
yeah, yeah.
And I'll share a bit, you know, when we do this exercise as well. Like I'm also going to be taking part in this exercise because it's like where I'm at. This is really going to help me, and I will share with you all as well what, because this has very much been the experience of the last couple of months or so. All of this is very, very fresh. So yeah, thank you. Is there any more, Karen?
Not now. No, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Sash.
Yeah, I thought I would just share because as you were talking about the ego, I had actually an experience with this on Saturday. So I got invited to a 30th birthday party in London, and I was going by myself, and I didn't know anyone but the person where it was their 30th. So of course, like they had all their friends around them, they were going to be busy all night, and I'd been to London as well the day before. So I kept telling myself, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't go, like you're tired, you've already had like a big weekend already, you know, or like you don't know anyone, and I was creating all these things of like, oh, don't go kind of thing. But there was the other side of me that was like the integrity part where I was like, no, because I've told her I'm going, like I've promised that I'm going to turn up, I can't, like, you know, get out of it now. So I was like, you know what, just as Karen's kind of said, just fucking do it kind of thing. Like, you know, stop kind of, yeah, just get going and ignore that part. And it was definitely like an ego thing. And I felt it throughout the night. There was like this level of protectiveness that kept kind of, in some way, kind of felt a bit dystopian when I was talking to people. I could feel this like uncertainty throughout the night. But the host was great. Anytime that she saw anyone alone, she would like introduce them to somebody. So I met so many people, but at the same time that they were all very academic, and I'm not academic in quite a few ways, obviously, and that also kind of heightened that uncertainty as well, because it's like, everyone here has been to Cambridge, and they all knew like they'd done English lit for like their masters, and I was like, I don't know anyone, but plus like at this different level, and I definitely put myself in that box. And throughout the night I was just like, no, just keep pushing through. And surprisingly, I actually had a really nice time. I actually really enjoyed the party, even though I didn't know anyone. I met loads of new people, and it was a really nice experience. And I'm really glad that I went and did it and didn't listen to myself.
Hmm. Could you tell in real time, like did you sense or see that there was a distinction going on?
Yeah, like I think throughout when I was speaking to somebody in like the terrace, I kept thinking, oh, you're the person that is. I was really worried that I was going to be the person that hangs around with the same group all evening because they've got no one else to talk to. And everybody else is thinking, oh, who's this girl again? Like, no one knows her. We don't really want to speak to her. So that was kind of happening throughout, like, in like the ego sides. Um, and I had to try to like coexist with it, I think, instead of just kind of trying to make it go away, is being like, okay, well, this is here, and try to coexist and just enjoy it as much as I can and learn from that experience. But it didn't go away the entire night. It was always there, but I still had a good time even with it.
Wow, awesome. I'm hearing a lot in there, and first and foremost, to see a distinction in real time is huge. Um, we're very good at forgetting as human beings where we've been. Not always, but we can quite quickly forget that at one point that thinking looked like the truth, like it was completely the truth about you in that moment. And not just in that moment, just the truth about you.
Yeah. I think looking back as well, I've realized like there's so many social situations that I kind of cancelled on last minute because there was that fear and protection of ego, of social anxiety, or like worrying, like, oh, you'd have to make sure that you aren't alone throughout the night, or, you're always like talking to somebody, or, and I backed out a lot of social situations because of that fear. So it was cool to kind of still have that experience beforehand leading up to it, but actually saying, you know what, no, that's not for me.
Hmm. I love how you've put it, like coexist with it, but also it sounds like where you create you were able to ground yourself by the sheer fact that you were able to see that there was a distinction, there was a gap. There's this thing, and then there's something that's more true, and it sounds like you were able to ground in that and then create from that. And then I heard you say, like, I actually had a really good time. Like you created in spite of a voice that ultimately, in its own way, is trying to protect you.
Yeah, by the end of it, I didn't want to leave. I was like, oh, I have to go get my train back to Brighton now. I wanted to like stay longer. Um, and yeah, it's definitely something that I'm wanting to work on because I am wanting to get into a lot of like new spaces and events and those kind of places. Like you do have to go by yourself, and everybody's in that situation where no one knows each other. I don't want to shy away from doing something because of that fear.
Mm. Wow. And you've just collected some proof that like you can be that person.
Mm.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there any more?
No, that was everything.
All right. Well, we'll hear from Lyndon and then we will crack on with this exercise. Lyndon.
Hello. Um, yeah, I don't know. I realized that we're like two-thirds in, and I don't want to kind of drag out this conversation too much into the exercise space. But I don't know. I sort of I wanted to talk because I had on it would have been Saturday, quite on the sort of topic of just getting on with it, just doing it, and like managing the nervous system and the ego and thoughts and stuff. Um, Oh, God, I don't know. So on like Thursday and Friday, obviously Halloween the day before. Thursday, a bunch of my mates couldn't make Halloween, so we went out for like a big pub crawl. I drank way more than I've drunk in ages, got very drunk, felt like shit on Friday. Great. Had another Halloween party on Friday where I drank again moderately. My body's not fucking made for this shit anymore. And then on Saturday, I was going into London with my partner to go to a gig, a concert with this DJ that we both like, which has been, we planned to do this for ages. And you got there, we got a hotel booked in there, and I was just feeling super anxious all of the day. I'd only eaten like a meal deal on the bus on the way in. I wasn't like really hungover or headachy, just like really, really tired. Like all my body's like asking me to like rest, and we've got this big gig coming up. I'm conscious this is being recorded, so there were plans for substances, uh, which go along with sort of dance music. Um, and like I get there, we go to because it's near the O2. We get off the tube, and I'm there, and we go to a Subway because we need to eat before we go to this thing. And I'm stood there, and I'm like, babe, I literally don't think I can eat right now. I feel like completely incapable of eating. I'm so anxious. I feel like more anxiety than I felt in ages, like a real like presence in the chest. And she's obviously like, "Oh, you okay? You know, we don't have to go to this." And I'm like, "We've planned this for ages. We're going to this thing." But like I feel like I'm gonna have a panic attack if I'm really not careful. And I have all sorts of systems and methods for dealing with this shit. Like breathing exercises. I'm doing this the whole time we're on the way. And like kind of trying to step back and identify the feeling and be like, I'm not this feeling. This is this is a thing that is happening right now. It's a feeling that it exists right now, but I'm not like, and I'm doing all of this stuff. And I mean, like it was fine at the end. Like we went to the gig, we arrived there quite early. We sort of moved around a bit. I think moving around, arriving there, sort of seeing everything that's there, finding a kind of place of comfort once I was there, that was fine. It sort of began to go away, accepting that okay, I'm not doing anything tonight. Like this is not my body cannot handle stimulants right now. I need to identify that immediately. All of this stuff, like once this is all sorted. I managed to have a really good time at the end of the day. Like going to this gig sober and stuff, that's fine. I'm fine to do that. But like none of the previous systems, none of this stuff that I've built up to sort of help myself distance my thoughts and my ego and my nervous system from like dictating who I am and what I'm doing. None of that felt like it was working. I still had all that, like I still had all of that like feeling and all that anxiety, and it was all overwhelming
Mm.
in the time. And so I'm wondering, like, on some level, this did work, right? Because I did go anyway, and I did have a good time anyway, and I kind of adapted my expectations and my actions in to what I knew I was capable of doing. But at the same time, in that case, like I was like, it didn't like none of this went away. It was still overwhelming, and I don't know. I don't know. I think like haven't got like a point necessarily. I'm more. It's just something that I'm still unpacking a little bit because again, like I haven't felt that severely anxious in a really, really, really long time. Like that sort of really palpable, like overwhelming, encompassing stress. Um, and I don't know. In terms of like actions and stuff, I'm beginning to think like, there's all of this talk about kind of moving in spite of your thoughts or like kind of like except like noticing your thoughts and all of that and then acting anyway. This is something my partner is really good at, and like part of me just thinks she's got an incredible tolerance for suffering and moving in spite of it. Like she'll just get on with anything. But like um, I don't know. It's like part of it is like, okay, well, how do I do that? Because I have these systems. I know how to step back. I've done like I practice meditation on and off throughout my life. I have these sort of tools at my disposal, but they don't necessarily work. I don't know. There's something missing. It sort of feels like um, when it comes to transferring that into action, reliable action. I mean, there's a chapter about consistently acting inconsistently. I haven't I don't feel like I found a way yet to consistently act consistently, to kind of move past that, despite despite these sort of tools that are generally accepted to be pretty effective, and they can be effective in some ways. I don't know. It's just like the sort of space that I'm thinking in at the moment, I guess, in regards to this topic.
Mm. 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 Okay. Okay. So it sounds like less of a question, more of a you're in a processing kind of thing, and you're sort of thinking out loud.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm just like I'm wondering because I feel like this shit can help me, especially I think in regards to the morning ritual, the morning whatever stuff, and what Tracy was saying, what you were saying about the kind of cup of tea in the morning. I do a similar thing with coffee. I think that's really important for me, and I think it's something that I can really build off to make kind of more of a sort of routine. Like yeah, but in terms of this is just sort of the space that I'm thinking in.
Okay. Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
when you and I'm yeah, well we can riff along this, and I think for everyone here, like this is something I'll draw out, like this is definitely relevant to all of us. Um, when you were talking about, okay, taking a step back from taking a
Mm.
and sort of utilizing these systems and understandings to create a
Mm.
separation between yourself and the emotional experience that you were having. Um, was there was the objective to make the emotional experience stop or to go away?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, or just to make it more bearable.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that was yeah. Which actually now I say that is sort of a little bit contrary to how that normally is supposed to work. But yeah, I think at the time it's like, oh, I'm not feeling very good. I want to stop not feeling very good, please. And I have these systems to make me do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, awesome! Like I
Yeah.
love that you're bringing this in here. What would do? I'm happy to share what looks true to me. Sophie, I see that your hand's up. I think on this occasion, I'm going to request Sophie if you would like to share something with Lyndon, to do so maybe over WhatsApp or however you guys communicate. Just because I want to keep the exercise space. Just keep the time for
You
that.
could equally type a thought into chat.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, this is one, man, and I'll share this from a place of like, I'm no master of this. Like I experiment with this and I'm learning as I go. Um, we are all the container, like the sky contains the weather, but is separate from the weather. Like that we are the container of a full range of emotional experiences, and separate from. Now, in my experience, does remembering that always help? No. Sometimes there's an emotional experience and it's just horrible. It is just awful. And yeah, I rack my brains going, but I know the three P's. I know to meditate. I know this thing. I have this understanding. I have access to these things. And of course, underneath it is still this desire of like, I want this to go away. I want this to stop. I don't want to feel this way. So I'm deploying like all of these things and trying to get the thing to go away. And of course, part of being a sky that contains all the weather is, we have the capacity to feel extreme elation and joy and gut-wrenching sadness and anxiety and depression. Like it's and so it comes back, I think, to the ability to be with and to contain, and to allow. And I say all of that from a place of like, that's like the ultimate easier said than done. Like that one is and I think that's a lifelong practice. And it is a practice because sometimes, we're able to deploy something that in the moment creates severs a connection to the weather and breaks the illusion. It's like, okay, no, I can be with this. And other times we forget and we feel very entangled with it. And it is very, whatever thinking is going on, like it's never a true thought, but it is a true experience. Like the experience is very, very real. The thinking we're having in the moment may not be the real truth about us, but the experience always is. Um, hmm.
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I think, yeah, the sort of, I know this is not a question I really want to answer, but yeah, again, the sort of like not overriding the main theme that I'm sort of thinking about here is that at least personally, there's a lot of this, a lot of yeah. The question is, okay, how do I kind of have my nervous system doing what it is, be aware of that, to an extent regulate that, and then also get stuff done, like what you're saying. Just do the thing, just get the shit done. Because right now I feel like I don't have a system that consistently works for that,
Hmm.
and it'd be really cool to have. I'm not like expecting a perfect system or anything, but it'd be really cool to have an improved one. And that's sort of just where I'm coming from. And that's not a question I expect to have answered or like by anyone else, but like it's just yeah where I'm coming from.
Well, it actually sounds like a perfect segue into
You're
the.
welcome. Amazing.
Thank you. Um, cool. Has everyone got pen and paper? And if you don't, please take a moment to go and grab one. So what you were sharing there, Lyndon, it's like, okay, systems that work, etc. What I thought would be, this is call eight. We're going to have just under 2 months left together. Um, what would be really cool after doing this digging up through the book and having these discussions is to begin to really zero in on the areas of our lives that are going to benefit from systems, and then to continue to zero in over the next few weeks and to create systems. And so what we're going to do, we're gonna focus on question 5 from the questionnaire. So we're going to specifically look at that. And I've read some of your responses. But yeah, return to question 5 with fresh eyes, and we're gonna open up some space and go into it. So the question is, which areas of your life could improve as a result of exploring and creating systems and becoming aware of the systems that are currently deployed? As we know from the book, there's always a system at play. There's always something that's having something happen or not happen. So what are the areas of your life that could most improve, that you want to improve as a result of becoming aware of the systems and exploring and creating, tweaking systems? And a couple of additional, they're not really additional separate questions. They're kind of two questions that I view as supporting this main question here. So something to tune into and think about whilst you're identifying these areas. Like what do you want to have happen? What would you like to create? And I think a really useful, or at least it's a question I found really useful for myself. Like, what do you want to have in 6 months' time? If we consider, well, like one thing I've always noticed with this kind of work is there's often a delay. Like if we're doing work on ourselves and there's internal shifts happening, or if we're playing with systems and we're first off identifying what the current systems are and we're tweaking and experimenting, like there's often a delay to creating what we want. And in my experience, it looks to be around that sort of four to 6 month kind of mark. And of course, things can happen before, but I wanted to offer you that. What do you want to have 6 months from now? What would you like to have happen? What would you like to create? And in what areas of your life? So take a few minutes, and I'm going to be doing this as well. And then we're gonna share these to the group. Okay, we'll spend about another minute or so jotting down any last few thoughts, and then I want to hear from you. Okay. This is obviously something you can continue to write down and revisit and retweak and continue to play with. But right now, um, I'd love to hear from as many of you as possible what has come up for you. What are the areas of your life that you want to play with systems? Sash.
So I actually don't think I put this in the form on the questionnaire, but just from conversations that we've had over the last couple of weeks, I think I've noticed that actually the route for me that I want to start building off my current systems is things that don't change. So like music and everything like that, it all changes and shifts depending on what's happening. Um, Whereas there's like some fundamental things that just don't. Um, so actually, my diet is probably one, like the way that I have my relationship with food and kind of like that's something that doesn't change. We have to eat. But I'm noticing that, I mean, even looking at my like work schedule, I work from 8:30 till 2:30 back to back. I get hungry at like 1 and I work through. And then I sometimes don't eat till like 3:30, 4 p.m. to just have lunch. If I don't get time to have breakfast in the morning, then I'm not eating till quite late. And noticing that in my head, that kind of system was put in place so I could try and finish work as early as possible to get more time in the studio. But then really, I'm not catering to my like fundamental needs to then allow my like my brain to work correctly and like be able to actually be present. And sometimes I actually get headaches in the afternoon because I haven't eaten soon enough. um so like I'm realizing that the things that don't change, that are always there, is really kind of the root of things that I want to develop with my systems. So again, another one is like the morning and evening routine. Something again that's always happening. We always have a morning and evening routine. It doesn't really need to shift that much. I think those are probably the two biggest things. And I've noticed previously when I've done these types of exercises in the past, like those have always been the two first things that pop up every time. And I'm slowly like working on it. Like exercise, I've definitely like built up a system that really helps for me currently. Um Diet, I've definitely improved a better system, but I it's not quite where I want it to be.
Cool. I love that. And I'll underline here. We're going to move through these fairly quickly, and we'll open them up more next week. But um, sometimes the smallest of tweaks will create a massive ripple. So the 20% that garners 80% of results. Something as small as um, eating an hour earlier, or preparing a sandwich in the morning, or do you stick with 2 pints, or do you have that third pint? Can often be the difference the following day, for example. Um, you know, sometimes it really is the smallest little tweaks in the system that yeah, it'll blow up as the day goes on. So love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sophie.
Yeah. I actually ended up writing quite a lot down. But obviously in the interest of time and the fact that I'm too ill to be yapping for ages, I think I wanted to just go with one of the positive ones that I've got on here, which was a life admin. So like the reason it's positive is because I've kind of found myself already experimenting, kind of like noticing what I have in place, which is that I have my lists on Google Keep and I have my calendar, which I live and fucking breathe by. I would be nothing without my calendar. But recently I've been thinking how like I'm still feel really disorganized. I feel like my life admin gets overwhelming, my to-do list, my errands. And so I literally today, in fact, went through my Google Keep and started just recategorizing everything into a bit more of like a right, I've got an inbox. So every time I think of anything, it can go into the inbox. And then once a day, once every couple of days, I can go through and time prioritize that. Like, is that a today thing? Is that a that's urgent but not today? Is that a you can think about that another time and like put those into category like more kind of time prioritized categories. And then kind of chunking things in like sort of dopamine friendly ADHD stupid brain kind of ways. And so that already has made it a lot easier to cope with what I've like my tasks and make them seem more manageable. And so now it's starting to open up like, okay, well, how can I do that with my calendar? Because my calendar is kind of a mess, but it makes sense to me. So the things that make sense to me clearly are already working systems, but like how can I optimize it and improve it? And then I'm thinking about things like how do I plan ahead like a week? Because I just feel like my life I kind of just let my life happen to me in a lot of ways. And I want to be a little bit more intentional and reflective in the way that I plan things. Um, but the idea of like planning a week ahead seems like such a type A, oh my God, I've got a whiteboard on my wall, like crazy organized shit that it just isn't me. But how can I make something that is me that's kind of somewhere along that allows me to be more reflective? So yeah, that's kind of that's one of the things that I'm actively experimenting and playing with at the moment. The other stuff on my list is a bit more existential. So in the interest of time and not wanting to have a mental breakdown, we'll leave that stuff to another session. But yeah, that's my 2 cents today.
No, awesome, awesome. And there's a couple of things I'll draw out there before we move on to onto you, Chris. Um, yeah, yeah, there's no rush today. You know, part of this next week is going to be sitting what came up in the call today and being with it, and maybe things will change. Maybe you'll continue to zero in and get more and more clarity on what it is you want to spend the next 7 weeks on. Um, so we'll be opening this up again next week, so there is no rush. Um, I wanted to say there just quickly to add, you mentioned the that seems quite type A, like that sort of type A personality, you know. I think one of the really cool things, or one of the opportunities over the next few weeks and months is um, for, and it's available to any of us, is to surprise ourselves, is to create systems in such a way um, that we are creating something that's like, well, I didn't know that that was a me thing. I didn't know that that was allowed for someone like me, or possible for someone like me, or it doesn't fit with, again, the discussion that we've had today around ego and who we think we are. Like, hang on, this thing's been created and it's happening now, but it doesn't fit with what the ego has said, or what you know, what my thinking about myself and what is and isn't me. So there's a really cool opportunity here through systems to create some things that are very, very surprising, and yet feel like you, because fundamentally there's a you that exists before the thinking. So love that. Chris.
And you could not have set this up any better, Will, because in the short list of things that I have here, the one that stands out to me that I'll bring up is one that's been referenced several times in this call today. But this overarching concept of being social. I've seen, I think most of us in this group are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, but the idea is, I wrote down social and financial. They are interrelated. And for years, I defined myself as a person who did not socialize, who was not comfortable socializing, who would go to the party and talk to one or two people the whole time and not make my way around. And so, having been supported by all of the work and the support and the training over the last year, I've almost now I've been playing with this and keep being light about it. But before I say no, I appreciate the power of saying no. I still do. It's important. But when an opportunity presents itself for me to put myself in a new social environment, I've almost been thinking of this not Chris avatar. And Chris doesn't get a say anymore because not Chris has to go to this thing and show up and just see what happens from a place of openness and curiosity and attention out. Because the less I feel like I have to talk about myself, or that I'm expected to, the easier it is for me to be in these environments. And so we went to coincidentally enough, there's a TEDx Nashville chapter, and they host these events. And we went to one last week, which was a food tasting, but also you're meeting new people, and they're socializing, but the chef is sort of leading everyone through this and saying, okay, the first thing I want to give you tonight is a biscuit. He goes on a little bit and then says, now I'm going to attend to the next course, but while I do, I want everyone at your table to talk about their biscuit memories if they have one, right? So then there's one coming up this week where this sort of thing would have been a nightmare to whoever I thought I was. But you sign up and you're given you sign up for this event. You're going to dinner with people that you don't know, whoever signs up for this thing from the TEDx Nashville chapter. And you don't know where you're going or what you're going to be talking about until the day before. Or you really don't find out who you're going to be seated with until you get there. So this is a perfect opportunity to play with this idea that, like, if I am closing down these opportunities just to be social and take the pressure off and not worry about, is this related to my business or my work? Because I got to feed, I got to generate income, and I can only do the work related things or what I perceive. I've kind of thrown that all out the window now. And like, I work so much in isolation that I need to be around people I don't know, and I need to get better at this. And so any instinct I have I don't want to do that, instantly means, nope, you have to absolutely fucking do it right now. And so far, so good.
Oh man, I love that. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so another fab example of actively working against instinct, or what has become instinctive. And I'll throw a very quick one out there. Just and this is for you, Chris, but this is for everyone. It can be really fun to track that stuff. So it might be, I like to keep a jar of scary things. So it might be that your instinct is to pull away from something that's scary or that feels like there's fear around it, and it can be fun to literally collect those on a piece of paper and throw the paper in this jar. You could turn it into something that doesn't feel natural, something that doesn't instinctively feel like the thing to do. It could be something that's scary, something that's not allowed, something that feels uncomfortable. There could be any version of these things. So I want to throw that out there as like, it can be quite fun to turn that stuff into a game. I'm conscious of time. Thank you for going over. I want to be respectful of the time there. So As part of this week, alongside the chapters, so yeah, continue. I think there's 3 chapters, 2 or 3 chapters in line for next week's call. But alongside that, sit with this question, which I'll send in a follow-up email as well, and continue to see what comes up. And I suppose zero in on the thing that the areas that feel like the most pressing, or the things that are calling to you the most, the things that most want to be created. And we'll share those at the beginning of the call next week. And then it's system creating time. All right. Lots of love to you all. I'll see you next Monday. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.